This is it.
Order.
The ayes to the right, 313. The noes to the left, 269.
Okay, so it's passed. It has passed. The government has won. I think a reasonably sizable margin.
Order.
Let's just listen in.
Order. The ayes to the right,
313 to 269. There we go.
The noes to the left, 269. So the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Unlocked.
So 313 votes yes, 269 no. A good evening for the government.
Well, better than it looked a few hours ago, but you should not be on your knees begging for a second reading as a Prime Minister. And you could argue that the right of the party have proved they have some strength, that they can turn nasty later on in the process. But I think Rishi Sunak will be so busy sighing he won't be able to start doing his maths and spreadsheets just yet.
So what can we expect now? This will go to committee in January, I presume, and then it'll be bashed around.
Well, yeah, we assume it goes early in January. It would be your expectation that this is labelled emergency legislation, and yet it doesn't seem to be in the plans for the first week Parliament comes back. Are they going to suck their teeth a bit longer, hope something turns up, seek amendments, or will they suddenly, as they can, plant it into that week? But at the moment it's not in those plans, so people are wondering how will they play this?
And then, of course, it's got to face the House of Lords. Presumably that'll be a problem as well. I mean, if it gets that far.
Well, the Lords will take their cue from this. This was not the most amazing endorsement that a Prime Minister's ever had for their second reading. Indeed, it's one of the worst on first sight. And so the House of Lords will take that as their cue to take great big bites out of this bill when it gets to them. And then a process of ping-pong begins. And the great question is, in what state can it emerge from Parliament and at what time?
And of course, the irony, the ultimate irony, is that if it's amended too far to the right, it'll lose a lot of votes from the One Nation Tory group, and also the Rwandan government might turn around and say, no, we're not interested.
The point about the One Nation group was made again and again in the chamber, in the debate today. You give 1 inch to the other side, they were saying.
They actually said that, didn't they?
Yeah, the bunch who were sitting away from them, further down the benches. You give anything to them and we'll be on your case.
Again, hostage to fortune.
And divided party, deeply divided.
Gary, stick around. Well, stopping the boats has been a pivotal pledge for Rishi Sunak, as you just heard Gary emphasise, and the policy around sending asylum seekers to Rwanda is also likely to be a key election issue for the Conservative Party. But where does it feature in the list of priorities for, you guessed it, the voters? Jane Dodge is in Stoke-on-Trent. Jane.
Welcome to Stoke's very own winter wonderland, full of festive fairground attractions. Rishi Sunak, as we've been hearing, has been on his own white-knuckle ride today, starting with breakfast at number 10, with some of his own MPs threatening to mutiny in tonight's vote. They included the local MP for Stoke-on-Trent North, Jonathan Gullis, a founding member of the New Conservatives group. He believes that the new Rwandan bill wasn't tough enough. Immigration has been a contentious issue here in Stoke. There's been a campaign to force the government to stop sending asylum seekers to hotels here in the city centre. Those concerns about immigration have been shared by some of the visitors we spoke to tonight at Winter Wonderland.
What do you do when there's no room at the inn? There's got to be a line somewhere, that's all it is. Yes, we feel sorry and we should help as much as we can.
If it all goes right, and Rwanda's a lovely place to be and they treat them well, then great. It makes our life easier a little bit, I suppose, with the migration problem or issue. Or it could go the other way and it could be a nightmare over there.
I wouldn't say it's my top priority, but it's a worry, because I think something's got to change. But you don't want people that need asylum to be stopped from coming in.
He's trying to get his voters back, isn't he? That's what he's trying to do. But
Will he get you back?
I've given up with everybody. I've given up with all of them. I just wake up and think, why is life in Britain so difficult? We're meant to be a rich country and everybody's struggling. It's like, really?
That frustration with the government reflected in a recent YouGov tracker survey. Asked how people thought the government was handling the issue of immigration, 84% said badly. Cause for concern for those Tory MPs trying to hold on to former Red Wall seats, like the 3 Tory MPs here in Stoke-on-Trent.
Jane, I think that was it. Thank you very much indeed there, Jane in Stoke-on-Trent. OK, we have lots of reaction coming in. Let's first of all go to Labour. Jonathan Reynolds is with us. Jonathan Reynolds, government passed this one, so they did rather well. You were defeated, as it were.
Well, look, they have a majority of 80. They were always going to pass this, and I don't think,
it was very tight there, wasn't it? I mean, 29 votes against, and that would have been it.
I think we've seen such a shambles that people do speculate, could even a government with this kind of majority fail to win a bill on second reading? But this has been, to be frank, a disgrace. I mean, this is different groups of Conservative backbenchers, as ever, their own interests, governing an issue which is important to the country. And you get back to the fact that this is not a serious proposal. This is a gimmick. This is not a serious way to do it.
For you, this is a circular firing squad, isn't it?
Well, it's embarrassing, to be honest, to see this Parliament reduced to little groups of Conservative MPs scuttling around to give pronouncements on this.
Right, and you know what that feels like because you were here 4 years ago, weren't you?
It is quite interesting that this is the 4th year anniversary of the 2019 election, and yes, I think you're right to say the contrast is between a Labour Party that's taken that on board and changed, and an absolute mess of a Conservative Party.
And yet, the country, the people, the voters care deeply about this issue, and you don't really have an alternative, do you?
No, I would really strongly push back on that. So we learned today that the funding for this policy is now up to £400 million. We're going to take that money, spend it in a different way, tackle the criminal side.
You might not get the money back if you kill this bill. You won't get it back.
There are further tranches of funding that are already scheduled. We learnt that in the debate.
But the 290 million that have been paid, you won't get back.
Well,
that's gone.
If it's gone, it's gone, yes. But I think the point being that you can spend this resource in a much better way, tackle the criminality, process the claims so we have a proper returns agreement in place. We're not spending money on hotels, put the money in up front to process, only like we did a few years ago, let's be clear, and work with our partners to return people who shouldn't be in the United Kingdom.
And are you really prepared to write off almost £1/3 of £1 billion?
Well, I think it's a disgrace, the money the government has wasted on a scheme which, from the way they talk, every small boat arrival would go to Rwanda. We're talking about 100 people at most here, 1% of the total of people. This is not really an attempt to do that. But you're right to say the government is wasting money hand over fist, and if they've given it to the Rwandans, we won't get that back. But we're right to say there's a much better way to spend that money. There's no magic wand here, but serious, proper, detailed policy, dealing with the issues, spending the money allocated to this in a better way. That is the way to do it.
OK. Jonathan Reynolds, thank you very much indeed.